Point. I'm your host, Ana Kasparian, and I'm super excited about our panelists today. We have a returning panelist that has been on the show for a while because she moved to New York. Jenn Hoffman, she is a media strategist. Jenn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I love having you on. You always have good points to make.
I have the best time on here, so
good,
ready to do this.
All right. And then we also have Dave Rubin, another one of my favorite panelists. He is the host of the Rubin Report here on TYT Network, or the Young Turks Network. You guys can check that out at youtube.com/The Rubin Report.
Anna, can I say real quick,
Yeah.
Jenn was also on the Rubin Report this morning. We flew her out on the Rubin Report jet, paid for by TYT, so I'm glad that it worked out that she could be on both shows.
Our guests always get, star treatment.
Of course.
/ never get star treatment. Anyway, all right, so what are we talking about on the show today? Well, there is a viral video of a baby wrapped around, or a python wrapped around a baby. Why did that happen, and is it okay? Also, a celebrity trainer dies in the most unexpected way. A teenage boy impersonates a doctor successfully. We'll tell you how long he did that. The selfie stick, does it make sense? Is it lame, or should it continue to exist? And finally, we'll end the show with a very substantive discussion on something known as the Vajankle. What is that, and how are foot fetishes going to enjoy it? Now let's get started with the very first topic, pythons. There is a video making its rounds on the internet featuring a 13-foot python wrapped around a baby. Now, I'm going to show you the video, and then I'll explain exactly why this was posted online. Take a look. The music selection there is awesome. Now, the reason why that was posted online is because Jamie Garino, who is the father of that cute little baby, wants to show people that snakes are not dangerous. He hates all the stigma attached to snakes. So he's like, look, a snake wrapped around my baby. Isn't it so cute? A lot of online commenters didn't think it was cute. They think that they put the baby in danger. And Jamie Garino actually responded to that criticism. He said the following. By the way, the snake's name is Nene, which I think is hilarious. He says, in this video, I was showing the simple fact that snakes are not evil creatures. They can be a loving pet despite their bad reputation. My daughter was absolutely in no danger. When people see this clip, they mostly react with fear or negativity, and I don't understand why. Because as you can see, the snake is just roaming around. It has no interest in biting her or choking her or swallowing her until one day it finally does. This is an embedded fear, and I think people are brainwashed. I have a lot to say about this, but I want to open it up to the panel first. Jenn Hoffman, make your point.
Okay, well, the first thing about this is that the father is a snake handler. He's been handling snakes for about 20 years as his primary vocation. Like, this is what he does for a living. So, of course, he's going to know whether a snake should be around his child or not. He probably knows the temperament, of the signs if the snake's being upset. Second of all, this little girl, I think it was a little girl, is going to grow up around snakes her whole life if that's her father's occupation and he has pets in the house. The only time people freaked out is when he put it on video.
Yeah.
So there's probably plenty of households where people grow up in a zoo environment or on a farm around animals or something that most people don't understand and would think is dangerous. I don't really have a problem with this father actually just showing what goes on in his day-to-day house, and the outrage over what's going on in these people's private lives is a little bit like, all right, come on. He's just doing what they do in their house.
Dave?
Well, I should be upfront. I'm not a snakeologist, so I can't get into the science of whether this snake is going to choke or bite the baby. But I basically agree with you. Look, except for the fact that when that snake, first off, it's on top of them. Now, I assume it's a boa constrictor of some kind. Like, don't they constrict? Isn't that, there's going to be some sort of constriction? Yeah. And also, when the snake's head got close to the baby, now I get it. Maybe it was defanged or whatever. It's still a tiny little infant, and I get it. We're not all experts in snake stuff. But it does that. There's something like gutturally freaky about it. How about that?
So I feel like you are between me and Jenn when it comes to this issue, because I'm actually against it. And regardless of whether or not he's a snake handler, We've done so many stories on TYT where a person who had a chimp as a domesticated animal, who raised the chimp and cared for the chimp, all of a sudden got attacked by the chimp. That's actually one of our highest viewed videos on the Young Turks. The woman's entire face was completely mutilated. And so you might think that you're an absolute expert when it comes to snakes and you can totally handle them appropriately, but you can never be safe enough, especially when it comes to a baby. So here's the question related to the story. What's one thing you think people are brainwashed about? Dave, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, well, this is something that I've been thinking about and talking about on my show a lot lately, is I think people, especially politically, everyone thinks that they know everything and that their side is always right. And I'm sure I'm guilty of it too, that we all think, you know, and this is partly because of the way we all get our news and we cater news to ourselves and all that, that we're always so convinced that we're right and we're somehow moral and the other people are evil or disingenuous or dishonest. And that's just silly and actually doesn't get anything anywhere. So I think everyone's sort of brainwashed in that regard.
Especially when it comes to political affiliation. Jen, what about you?
Well, you know, I initially had a similar thought when you were going to say, what are we brainwashed about? I was going to say everything. Like, I feel like we're practically living in the Matrix. But the more I think about it, I think we're brainwashed about the right to have outrage. Everyone feels that we're entitled to be so outraged at what other groups do or what individuals do in their own home, such as a dad raising a baby with a snake in the household. And really, we don't have the right to that. We're brainwashed to think that our opinion matters more than someone's right to live their life. It's like, can I live situation? And I think that's what we're brainwashed about.
Yeah, it's the age of new media. Everyone's outraged about something, and there's usually a flavor of the week, right? Like, what is everyone outraged about this week?
Right.
And it changes the following week. I think people are brainwashed specifically on the issue of gender equality, right? So I use the word gender equality because if I started that sentence off with feminist, people would like have their heads explode, and I don't want to get into that. But I think that gender equality is a super nuanced issue, and oftentimes people don't see it as a nuanced issue. They're brainwashed into either being against gender equality or hating feminists or really loving feminists and supporting them regardless of what they do. And so you kind of have to take cases by case instance, I guess, and make a decision when it comes to certain stories. I remember we did that story about that scientist who wore like the cartoon naked women and everyone like freaked out about it. And even if you identify as a feminist, you should be able to understand that that particular case was not worth getting outraged about. Nonetheless, don't be so, hard on people who have different opinions from you. Don't be so outraged all the time. Don't allow people to dictate the way you think. Think for yourself. Okay, I'm gonna leave that story with that PSA message for you guys. Anyway, let us know what you guys think. What's one thing that you think other people are definitely brainwashed on? And also, I want to hear your thoughts on this python story. Do you think that the father's being negligent in allowing this python to wrap itself around his child? Let us know in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys soon. There was a tragic story just this past weekend where a famous trainer by the name of Greg Plitt died on the train tracks as he was filming some of his workout videos. Now, this is something that he has done in the past. There are many videos of him working out on a train track. In fact, we have one for you now. Let's take a look.
If you have a belief that you can do it, that will override 1,000 people in just intent. It's not about where you guys start, guys. It's where you finish. This is travel in life.
So according to reports, he was filming a video similar to that one, and he underestimated a train that was headed in his direction. And since he underestimated the speed, he was unfortunately hit by the train, and he died as a result. It's a really tragic and sad story, and it's especially crazy when you consider the fact that this guy's entire life was about health and wellness and well-being, and this is the way that he unfortunately died. Now, Dave Rubin, I want to hear what you have to say and make your point.
Yeah, well, it's incredibly tragic. Obviously, it reminded me of who is the animal guy, the Australian animal guy, who got killed. Someone's going to come up with his name by the time I finish this sentence. Steve Irwin, thank you, who got killed by a stingray or something while he was filming. I mean, doing the very thing that he loves, which obviously this guy was doing exactly what he loved. And if you put yourself in extreme situations, this one seems unnecessarily extreme because I don't know exactly what the railroad had to do with the working out. Maybe he was just into trains, so it just became like everyone's looking for their hook.
Yeah.
But when you do things that are extreme, then you're taking a risk.
You absolutely do take a risk. Jen, what do you think?
I mean, it's so sad. He was, it's funny, he was filming an energy drink commercial, and he was trying to prove that this energy drink could make you outrun a train. clearly it can't. So, I mean, I'm not even making a joke there. It's just this idea that you can act so supernatural and superhuman that if you take this energy drink or start drinking a certain type of coffee, and then this guy can present it to the world as his brand that he could beat a train, just kind of says to me that it's so competitive these days to get your stuff out there that he actually put his life at risk and lost his life to remain competitive in some sort of selling energy drink sphere.
God, it's so depressing.
Sad, yeah.
The train conductor actually saw him, and he did everything in his power to stop. Obviously, he was, honking at him and hoping that he would get out of the way, but it, of course, didn't happen the way that we all hoped that it would. So here's the question for the story. Have you ever intentionally put yourself in danger? Jen?
All the time. I mean, it's not even a joke. I have done drugs. I have hitchhiked more than one time. I purposely put myself in dangerous situations. The last thing I could think of is a stranger when I was on the F train in New York said, hey, a guy clearly hitting on me, said, hey, he's a firefighter guy, want to jump off the train with me right here and just go wherever? And I said, sure, and just jumped off the train and went with a stranger. It was about 1 a.m.
Wait, you don't mean jumped off.
No, not jumped off the moving train. I should actually make that clear. Right? I know, especially with this first train story. I'm like, funny enough, I'm trying to outrun trains too. But no, he just hopped off the next stop with a complete stranger. So I will say that I'm an emotional thrill seeker. I don't take a lot of physical risks. I wouldn't try to physically outrun a train, but I would jump off a train with a stranger. I just do that. I don't know why.
Was he hot? Like, how hot
he was
was
okay. He was definitely a decent looking kind of clean cut guy, but I thought that's the guy who's probably the most likely to be a serial killer. I just felt like being an emotional thrill seeker at the moment. I knew it was dangerous, and I got that adrenaline rush from doing it, and that's how I roll. It's like kind of weird, but
wait, how'd the night end up?
So we ended up getting a few drinks, and then he was a firefighter, and he's like, let's go out to the firehouse, and I was like, that's where rapes happen. So it was weird. I was really curious and went back there, and once we got there, he tried to obviously like physically engage with me, and I knew he was going to, and I knew I wouldn't, and I ended up running away and actually jumping into pretty much moving cab. There was a driver going, and I stopped at a red light, and I knew I needed to get out of there. It was a true story. It was a couple of weeks ago. I ran down the street at this red light right underneath where the F train goes under, and I saw the guy, and I jumped into, hoping that he was a driver. It looked like a town car type thing, and said, hey, can you take me home? Imagine with another stranger. And he did, and he ended up driving me home, and it was like kind of more expensive than I wanted to. It was a town car. But yeah, I ran away from a firehouse, not on fire, jumped into a town car. It was fine. And I woke up the next morning like, that's good for a Tuesday.
Wow.
She has incredibly good judgment, I just want to say.
Amazing.
Who does that?
Dave, I don't know if you can beat her.
Yeah, I don't know that I can beat that either, at least for sheer comic value. But something that I've been doing lately with everything going on in Paris and free speech, I have been posting pictures of Mohammed, especially ones that I think are funny.
Yeah.
So an artist that's a fan of mine drew a picture of Mohammed and Jesus and Moses watching the Rubin report, and I posted that. And I absolutely believe in free speech, and I think it's something that I should put my life on the line for. I don't know that I'm under any real threat, but cartoonists and satirists, I'm a satirist, they got killed in Paris, so could something happen here? I can't say that I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
And I can't say that people haven't contacted me about it, or even jokingly on Facebook or on Twitter been like, you're really putting yourself out there, or you're next, or something like that, which is deranged. Actually, I haven't even said this out loud, so now it sounds a little scarier than I started this whole thing with, but I think you have to stand up for things that you believe in.
Yeah, I love that point. I put myself in danger every day once I get behind the wheel, and it's not because of the way other people drive, it's because of the way that I drive. I'm a terrible driver. I just recently got into a pretty bad car accident. I mean, I didn't get hurt, the guy didn't get hurt, but I rear-ended him because I wasn't paying attention to the road. And I was really apologetic about that because I was on my phone, and after that, I have put my phone in my purse, in the back seat, and I don't even touch it anymore. But I also have really bad road rage, and there was like a period of time where I dealt with it really well. Maybe it was because I was doing yoga regularly, but now that I've been, skipping the yoga and doing more running, like I feel like I'm not as zen. So if someone cuts me off, I like lose it, and in a, gun saturated country, like you don't want to lose it on the road. But anyway, I put myself in danger that way, and like the drug thing too. Anyway.
Yeah. The drug thing. The drug thing. Forget about the drug thing.
Anyway, tell us how you intentionally put yourself in danger. We want to hear your stories, so make sure you share them in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys soon. Seems like all the weird shit happens in Florida, and this next story is no exception. Apparently there was a 17-year-old, according to the Smoking Gun, that impersonated a doctor successfully for a month without getting caught. Now, eventually he did get caught, and he's not facing any charges because even though he was roaming around the halls of the hospital wearing a white lab coat, he didn't actually go into any of the patients' rooms, or he didn't see any patients. Now, he's an unnamed teen. We don't know what his identity is because he is a minor, but his mom has told police that he suffers from an undisclosed illness and refuses to take his medicine. So he even had like a stethoscope.
Stethoscope.
Yeah, stethoscope.
I guess you're not pretending to be a doctor.
No, I'm not. Around his neck and everything. And then when authorities searched his car, they found more hospital paraphernalia, which you could buy online, by the way. Anyone could do this, which is scary. But I love that he was able to do this for a month without getting caught. Jen, what do you think? Make your point.
I think his undisclosed illness is called awesomeness because obviously, if he was putting people in danger and treating patients and going in there, that would be like a real problem, irresponsible, and would say something maybe about his psychology even being a little bit sociopathic. But it seemed like this kid was just bored and decided to do something kind of fun and interesting. And although I obviously can't say this would be a good thing to impersonate a physician, I think it's something that I would do, so I can't judge this kid because I'm like, good move, kid.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty on board this. Like, mental whatever notwithstanding, like, this is pretty great. Like, he did something. Like, think about all the times you could do something just wacky and you don't do it. And he just wandered the halls. He didn't operate. He didn't do brain surgery. You know what I mean? Like, he just wandered the halls. I would venture to say he probably comforted people. And, like, who knows what he was doing? We don't really know. But, like, he did something. So nobody got hurt. It's all right.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy that no one got hurt and he didn't cross the line by going into a patient's room. But what I also don't understand is, as a 17-year-old, first of all, like, where are your parents? How come they don't know where you are for a month, right? Like, I don't know how long he was in the hospital on a daily basis. But then also, if you like being in the hospital, you can actually be there legally or lawfully or without breaking any rules, I should say, and get like credit for it. It's called an internship, right? Like, do something like that, and then, you know, you can be there and not have to hide. But maybe he got a little bit of a thrill off of hiding the fact that he was just a 17-year-old. Here's the question, though. If you could have a different job for a month, each year, what would it be? Dave?
I mean, without question, I would be a professional basketball player. Without question. I mean, that would be my dream. If I could, I would trade 2 years of my life right now to get 15 minutes in a professional basketball game in a second. Like, not only just the sport of it and playing on those courts with those people and that high level of something that I truly love, but also just like the media part of it. And like, I just think it would simply be the greatest thing in the world.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jen, what about you?
I'd be a spy.
Okay.
I think you might be a spy already.
I mean, obviously, we were talking about before that I have the propensity to thrill seek, and I really like to travel to different places. I can imagine myself pretending to be somebody entirely different, like this kid did in the doctor situation. And if every once in a while I got to completely leave my life to go do something like undercover, and it would probably exercise some of these desires I have to do this crazy shit anyway. So at least I'd be being productive and getting paid for it.
That would be fun. That would be fun. I would be a go-go dancer.
Fun.
I
Really?
think I have like this fascination with go-go dancers. I feel like it's my alter ego. They're sexy. They're confident. You know, they're not getting 100% naked, but like they're still like showing off some skin. I just love the confidence that they exude, and I would love to do that. And it's so different from what I do for real work, you know, for my work, I should say, real life work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like have these fantasies about being a go-go dancer.
Can I just say, so mine totally unrealistic, right? There's no chance in hell I could become a professional basketball player. Yours, I suppose maybe it's somewhat. You could do that tomorrow.
Right now.
That's
really
like we could
great
leave.
money.
We could end the show right now, and you could
just
like.
go be a go-go dancer.
I know this sounds absurd, and I don't think that I'll actually do it because unfortunately there's too much stigma attached to it, and I don't want to get recognized and hassled or anything like that. But I would, I've actually considered it. Like, I sat down, I spoke to my boyfriend about it. I was like, what if I go dance on the weekends? Do you think that'll destroy my career? And he's like, I think it'd be awesome. He's like, I'd go watch
Well,
you.
we could go on a covert undercover spy mission where if I pretend I'm being a spy and you decide you want to be a go-go dancer, like I would do that with you one night. Like I'd go dance somewhere.
Yeah,
And do it.
and I'll be a professional basketball player with a shitload of money, just throwing money everywhere.
I like it. We came full circle. Okay, we have this vision. All right. Well, tell us what you guys would do for work for a month out of the year. It could be anything, as you could see from our panel. And also, what do you make of this teenage boy who paraded around a hospital pretending to be a doctor? Do you agree with us that it's not that big of a deal, or do you think there's a serious issue here that should be discussed? Comment in the section below, and we'll see you guys later. Instagram has made it evident that people absolutely love to take selfies, but what if there was a gadget that made selfie taking easier? There is one. It's known as a selfie stick, and some are questioning whether or not it's necessary or if it should exist at all. Now, here's some examples of people using the selfie stick in a questionable way, but it could be used for good purposes as well. Here's a pilot with a really cool artistic picture that he utilizes a selfie stick for. So it could be used for artistic purposes, but some still feel a little judgmental about it. Jen, what do you think? Make your point.
I mean, it seems like a fun, harmless thing, but I will say I was at the World Trade Center Memorial, and there were multiple people using selfie sticks to take their photos with it, which in one case, it's like, look, they're having this experience, they want to document it, but the weirdest thing was watching people like prep and put on lipstick in front of the World Trade Center Memorial, like making sure that they were looking great, and then like taking all these various different selfies with the selfie stick. Something just felt so wrong and weird and like postmodern creepy about it that it made me uncomfortable, but I also was like, okay, this isn't, it's not the end of civilization, but it was certainly uncomfortable.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Dave?
Well, we did a story on my show this week about how selfies are actually proving to show that people have narcissistic personality disorder and all this other stuff. So the stick, I was just in New York last week, and in Times Square, I literally saw dozens of people, mostly tourists from other places, that tourists generally are from other places, by the way, and they were just walking through Times Square with this thing. So maybe they were videoing themselves or occasionally, and it was just like, can everyone get into the moment for a moment?
Right.
Can you actually have a moment anymore? They're in the crossroads of the world, and everyone's just obsessed about getting that picture. So these things, I get it. It's not the worst thing in the world, but like it's kind of nauseating actually.
Yeah.
When I see people now on the streets taking selfies, I was on La Cienega, which is a pretty big street here in LA,
Very busy
and there was a
street.
girl in the left turn lane, I kid you not, taking a left turn, taking a selfie. I mean, really, like that's like, yeah.
That's not safe. Yeah, look, I think that selfies in moderation are totally fine. If you go to my Instagram, every once in a while I'll post a selfie, usually because I really like the way my makeup looked that day and I want to show it off. But I do believe that everyone should enjoy the moment, but sometimes when you travel, let's say you're traveling with one other friend, you do want to take pictures together, right? And it's hard to do it when, it's just the two of you and you don't want to ask a stranger, you don't want to hand your expensive smartphone to a stranger or your expensive camera to a stranger, so you just use a selfie stick. I don't have one, I've never used it, but I totally see why people would want it. If every picture on your Instagram page is a selfie, you might want to reevaluate your priorities. But even then, like, who am I to judge, right? Do you, boo? You want to post those selfies, do you? Anyway, here's the question. What's one thing you wish people would stop doing? Jen?
I wish people would stop giving a shit what other people are doing. I swear. I love the way you just also made your point too, the do you, boo.
Yeah.
That's just completely the motto for me. It's like even when I see people using a selfie stick, whether I have a personal opinion about it or not, that opinion has to be fleeting. Because what the hell do I care if someone else is using a selfie stick? What do we really care? I like the fact that we can discuss it and say, what does that mean for society? That's important. But to actually then make a personal judgment and have feelings about it and be angry or happy or say, I support that or I don't support that,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. Find something
Selfie
better
rights
to do.
now.
Exactly, the
Man.
outrage thing. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, enough.
So you're outraged at people being outraged.
Exactly. I just wish like everyone would just like chill out and kind of like do you, but like also like really do you, like worry about yourself.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Well, one thing that is outraging me at the moment is when you're in mid-conversation with someone and they look at their phone while you're speaking to them directly. This is happening nonstop now. It's driving me crazy, and I get it, and we talk about it all the time with Instagram and selfies and all that stuff. But literally, when you're in a conversation with someone and you're like this, like just right there with them, and then suddenly, it's not that there was even a break in the sentence, but then their immediate desire is to go to that thing.
Yeah.
Or even, it's not even when they're alone on a corner. Like in the old days, you might stand on a corner and have to think for a second. Now you automatically go to your phone. But the one in conversation to me is like,
It's so
the worst.
incredibly
And we all do
rude.
it. We all do it.
Yeah, and it just makes it seem as though the person that you're talking to does not give a flying fuck what you have to say.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm super interested. What's going on with Twitter?
Yeah.
Instagram, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't stand that. So mine is probably a pet peeve that a lot of people have had for a really long time. I hate when I respectfully use my turn signal because I want to change lanes, and the piece of shit in the next lane that's behind me sees it and then starts to speed up because they don't want me to go in front of them. Listen, every time you do that, I'm going to cut you off, and then I'm going to put both of our lives in danger. So just don't do it anymore. Okay, so share your stories. What's one thing that you wish people would stop doing? And also, what do you think of the selfie stick? Do you have one? Do you use it? Do you think it's stupid? We love hearing your stories, so comment in the section below and we'll see you later. For those who have a foot fetish, there is a new sex toy out for you that you might enjoy. It's even better than the Fleshlight. It's called the Vajankle, and according to Sin Boutique, which is selling this item, the quirky feet have a vagina built right in at the ankle. Okay, the Vajankle is in the left foot only. You can order the Vajankle independently or as a pair with the standard right foot included. All right, so this only costs $179, but obviously there is a market for this. WikiFeet definitely made me aware of it. And so I think it's interesting. Look, I'm in favor of sex toys. I like all types of sex toys. I like sex toys that other people enjoy. I like sex toys that I enjoy. Sex toys are great. So that's my point on it. Dave, what's your point?
Well, Anna, I don't want to pussyfoot around it.
Why did they call it the pussyfoot?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm with you. People are into weird shit. We're so judgmental about everything, but everybody's got their kinks and their stuff that they like. It's totally fine. I have a friend actually who's big into the feet thing, and I had a couple people at my house the other day, and there was a girl wearing this open-shoed thing, and I kept noticing him staring at her feet.
Oh my God.
And after, he was texting me going on and on about what he wanted to do to her feet and suck her feet and feet. And you know what? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to get him one of these.
Yeah, you totally should.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a very generous gift, by the way. $180 is not cheap.
Yeah, well, you know, for the foot fetishists, there's nothing that's too expensive.
Exactly.
There's no luxury too great.
Yeah.
Jen, what about you?
I mean, it seems like anatomically helpful. Like if envisioning feet and picturing feet is what gets you off, and now there is a vagina-shaped hole on top of a foot, it seems like that would just like get the job done for somebody who's interested in that. So obviously I don't have any negative opinions towards anything anybody wants to do, and if this toy helps somebody stare less creepily at my feet, then great, go ahead and fuck a foot. What do I care?
Yeah, I'm surprised that it took
Fuck
so
a foot.
long.
That could have been the name also. That's pretty good.
Pussyfoot, fuck a foot, or the vajankle.
We have so many good name opportunities here. I totally agree with both of you guys. I mean, I think it's kind of surprising that it took this long for this type of sex toy to come out. But I'm glad that it did. So here's the question. Would you ever, or have you ever, dated someone who does have a foot fetish? Jen, I'm going to start with you.
So I, very briefly, I knew this guy who I knew was into kind of like goddess worship type stuff, which turns me off because I don't want to be like dominant. I don't want to walk around like with a slave or anything. But one of his biggest things was foot fetish type stuff. So this is somebody who I never ended up sleeping with or anything like that, but he would be like, send me pictures of your feet. And then I would start like texting him back because I thought it was really interesting. I'd be like, well, what about it? Like, what do you want to do to feet? Like, I was just so curious. So this is somebody who I didn't end up having a sexual relationship with, but I almost had like an intellectually curious relationship about his foot fetish. So I would receive texts where he would talk about what he wants to do. Like, I want to like lay at the bottom of your feet for hours and crawl on my hands and knees and leave. What would he say? Like tribute to your feet. And he got so into everything. So I mean, at least I got the psychology, but it's like not for me. But I think there's a lot of people that are into it, and that's cool.
I love the psychological experiment and trying to figure it out. Yeah, definitely. If you get that opportunity, delve into it and figure out what it's all about, I guess.
Yeah, people love that when you tell them what your kink is, or when they tell you what their kink is, and then you're like, what's wrong with you? I'm gonna figure it out.
I didn't think something was wrong with him. Just because I don't share that, I thought it was really interesting. It seemed harmless. It was very focused too on the foot worship thing, so I was like, okay. And I also have nice feet, seriously. Like a few times I've posted pictures online where my feet have been in, like the pool selfie type thing, the hot dog legs, but your feet are in it.
Yeah.
And guys were like, ooh, nice feet. So I was like, right. He asked me to send a picture of my feet, and I did. I obliged. I was like, this is just interesting. I have no judgment on whatsoever. I think it's a huge fetish for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, it definitely is. Dave.
We know people like your feet too, by the way.
Yeah, which is fascinating because I was literally a ballerina for years, and so I don't have nice feet. Like I think my feet are hideous, but some people are into it. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull the gay card here because I think there's a difference in the foot thing for a man and for a woman, because women generally have nice feet and get pedicures, and their feet are dainty and pleasant in a lot of cases, or in the standard case, right? Guys have jacked up, disgusting. I've seen awful, horrible seashell-like toenails. You know what I mean? Horrible calluses, busted up things. So the foot thing does absolutely nothing for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, but if someone was into it, you want to worship my feet, I'd be like, go ahead, sure.
So I very, very briefly dated someone who had a foot fetish, and I loved it. I thought it was cool. I mean, if someone's gonna be like obsessed with one of my body parts, like where am I losing there? Like, there's actually something kind of hot about someone who's that into like a specific body part. Like you can have fun with it. So I definitely wasn't like turned off by it. I thought it was fine. Now if he had a thing with like wearing and pooping in diapers, like I know that there's that fetish, then I probably wouldn't be into that. But I don't judge those who are into it. You know, different strokes for different folks. All right, well tell us what you guys think. Have you ever dated anyone with a foot fetish? I guess this is mostly directed at the female audience. But if you're a male and you have a foot fetish, you can definitely share your story in the comment section below and tell us what you think about the Vajankle. Would any of you be interested in purchasing it, using it? We love hearing from you, so comment in the section below and we'll see you later. All right, guys, that was a great show.
Fun.
Lots of really fun stories. Jenn, I'm so happy you're in LA.
I've been visiting. I'm going back to New York. I'm here for a while. But I was so glad that you reached out to me. I was like, yay, awesome.
I was like, oh, if Jen's here, then I'm definitely going to try to get her on the
That
point.
was so great. And then you both did. And I was like, this is the best. I love you guys. I'm coming back here, so yay.
Yeah, so tell the audience a little more about you, where they can find you, all that stuff.
You can find me, let's just do Twitter, @Jenn Hoffman.
Nice. Dave Rubin.
That was very concise and very good. YouTube.com/Rubin Report. I hope you know about that at this point. And Twitter.com/Rubin Report. And then stalk me other ways. There's other ways if you just put a little legwork into it.
I love that you're encouraging them to do that because they probably will. I'm Ana Kasparian. You guys can check me out Monday through Friday on The Young Turks, YouTube.com/TYT Network or The Young Turks. And it's streaming live 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time at Twitter. On Twitter @Ana Kasparian. This is like where my brain kind of winds down, like, oh, the show's almost over, like stop thinking. And also Instagram, Ana Kasparian TYT. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week with another episode of The Point. Anyway, all right, so what are we talking about on the show today? Well, there is a viral video of a baby wrapped around, or a python wrapped around a baby. Why did that happen, and is it okay? Also, a celebrity trainer dies in the most unexpected way. A teenage boy impersonates a doctor successfully. We'll tell you how long he did that. The selfie stick, does it make sense? Is it lame, or should it continue to exist? And finally, we'll end the show with a very substantive discussion on something known as the Vajankle. What is that, and how are foot fetishes going to enjoy it? Now let's get started with the very first topic, pythons. There is a video making its rounds on the internet featuring a 13-foot python wrapped around a baby. Now, I'm going to show you the video, and then I'll explain exactly why this was posted online. Take a look. The music selection there is awesome. Now, the reason why that was posted online is because Jamie Garino, who is the father of that cute little baby, wants to show people that snakes are not dangerous. Brainwashed. I have a lot to say about this, but I want to open it up to the panel first. Jenn Hoffman, make your point.
Okay, well, the first thing about this is that the father is a snake handler. He's been handling snakes for about 20 years as his primary vocation. Like, this is what he does for a living. So, of course, he's going to know whether a snake should be around his child or not. He probably knows the temperament, the signs if the snake's being upset. Second of all, this little girl, I think it was a little girl, is going to grow up around snakes her whole life if that's her father's occupation and he has pets in the house. The only time people freaked out is when he put it on video.
Yeah.
So there's probably plenty of households where people grow up in a zoo environment or on a farm around animals or something that most people don't understand and would think is dangerous. I don't really have a problem with this father actually just showing what goes on in his day-to-day house and the outrage over what's going on to these people.
Welcome to The Point. I'm your host, Ana Kasparian, and I'm super excited about our panelists today. We have a returning panelist that has been on the show for a while because she moved to New York. Jenn Hoffman, she is a media strategist. Jenn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I love having you on. You always have good points to make.
I have the best time on here, so
Good,
ready
good.
to do this.
All right. And then we also have Dave Rubin, another one of my favorite panelists. He is the host of the Rubin Report here on TYT Network, or the Young Turks Network. You guys can check that out at youtube.com/The Rubin Report.
Anna, can I say real quick,
Yeah.
Jenn was also on the Rubin Report this morning. We flew her out on the Rubin Report jet, paid for by TYT, so I'm glad that it worked out that she could be on both shows.
Our guests always get, star treatment.
Of course, of course.
/ never get star treatment. Chris, he hates all the stigma attached to snakes, so he's like, look, a snake wrapped around my baby, isn't it so cute? A lot of online commenters didn't think it was cute. They think that they put the baby in danger. And Jamie Garino actually responded to that criticism. He said the following. By the way, the snake's name is Nene, which I think is hilarious. He says, in this video, I was showing the simple fact that snakes are not evil creatures. They can be a loving pet despite their bad reputation. My daughter was absolutely in no danger. When people see this clip, they mostly react with fear or negativity, and I don't understand why. Because as you can see, the snake is just roaming around. It has no interest in biting her or choking her or swallowing her until one day it finally does. This is an embedded fear, and I think people are